الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذ قال موسى لقومه إن الله يأمركم أن تذبحوا بقرة قالوا أتتخذنا هزوا قال أعوذ بالله أن أكون من الجاهلين صدق الله العظيم. Regarding ayat number 67 of Surat al-Baqarah, the qissa and story of Musa alayhi salam in dealing with his qawm, specifically a wealthy person who was murdered. When the family requested to gain information regarding the murder of their relative, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered them to slaughter a baqarah, a cow, and with a piece of that cow to hit the lifeless body of their relative. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through that amal brought the person back to life, and He pointed out his killer. We gave some of the lessons from this story, that this surah has taken its name from Surah al-Baqarah, which is a story about greed, having the hirs for dunya, having this greed for this dunya, for this world. And the love of this dunya, the love of this world, we're told, حُبُّ الدُّنْيَا رَأْسُ كُلِّ خَطِيئَةٍ, that the love of dunya, the love of world, it is the head for every evil, for every sin. Why do we commit sins? Why do we disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Because of our love for dunya, our love for this world, our love for the material things of this dunya, of this world. When the person was murdered and the family members, they came to Musa alayhi salam and they requested to know the murderer, who the killer was. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in these ayat, in ayat number 67, وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِقَوْمِهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُكُمْ أَن تَذْبَحُوا بَقَرَةً. And remember that time when Musa alayhi salam, he said to his qawm, he said to his nation, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُكُمْ أَن تَذْبَحُوا بَقَرَةً, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He commands you to slaughter a cow. قَالُوا أَتَتَّخِذُنَا هُزُوًا. The family members, they responded that, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala making fun of us? Is He making a joke of us? قَالَ أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ أَنْ أَكُونَ مِنَ الْجَاهِلِينَ. Musa alayhi salam, he said, I seek the refuge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from ever becoming a jahil, or becoming amongst the jahilin, the ignorant people. For a command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a hukum of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the family members, they took it as a joke. They thought that it was some kind of prank that we say now. We call it pranks. We play pranks on people, play jokes on people. So they were telling Musa alayhi salam that, na'udhu billah, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pranking us? And He's telling us to slaughter a cow. What kind of joke is this? And there's a very great lesson for all of us in this also. For us believers, that there are many ahkam of deen. There are many laws in the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, many commandments and prohibitions. In the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in this Islam, Sometimes in our own ignorance, or we fall into the company of ignorant people, people who don't understand the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they start making fun of the ahkam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes they make fun of, now they follow scientologists, they call themselves. People who accept science. Some of them are atheists. They don't believe in any being that has created this universe. They consider themselves intellectuals, that they're very, very intelligent, and that they are VIP people, very ignorant people. When you start to really analyze them, subhanallah, they're at another level of VIP, You tell them the air you breathe made itself, they'll laugh at you. You tell them this whole universe made itself, they'll believe it. Strange people. In this dunya, in this world, a pair of eyeglasses don't make itself. Something so simple. And you're claiming that this vast universe made itself. They believe in science. And the reality of science is that everything is a theory until they prove it. And even when they prove it, they're always changing their proof. They said the earth was flat. Then it was round. Now it is oval. There was a time in the 1940s and 1950s where smoking was the best thing to do, They used to have ads on the benefits of smoking and how many doctors were smoking and how good it was for you. And now the same science that was telling you this is now telling you that it can cause cancer and it can kill you after it killed so many people. So there's the reality of science. It's always changing. And everything else, if it is not changing, they start with a theory and then they make you believe that theory is the truth. And even they'll call it a theory. It is the theory of evolution, but you have to accept that it's a reality. Subhanallah. A theory is just a person's thought, a hypothesis that they come up with. And they put some ideas to it and it makes sense, and now it's a fairy tale that actually makes sense. It could be true. And now they start bringing up proof for it to try and prove it. This is the reality of science. And there are people who believe in this. They claim to be people who only accept evidence. They claim to be people, if there's evidence for something, they're ready to accept it. But that evidence has to make sense, and the science has to tell them it makes sense. Then if you ask them, okay, tell me about this world, they'll tell you 50,000 years ago, there was this fish that came onto land and became a monkey, and the monkey became a human, a very nice fairy tale. Tell them, how long ago? 50,000 years. You were there when this happened. How do you know? They'll tell you, no, science tells us because there is some evidence somewhere that proves something like this. They found the skull of a monkey and now they say this used to be a human. Subhanallah. And this is our science. They're not ready to accept the truth. And these are the same people that then they come to the deen of Islam and they say, why do you pray 5 times a day? Isn't this obsessive compulsive disorder? They say, you're so obsessed, you're praying so much. They don't look at themselves. We tell them, why do you eat 3 times a day? You can survive with 1 meal a day. Why you eat so much? Why you go to work for 8 hours a day? This is not obsessive compulsive disorder that you're standing there at work for. And not 1 job, but 2 jobs and 3 jobs. Some people, they work, subhanallah. This is not obsessive compulsive disorder, but when you stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's something wrong with you. They don't understand the wisdom behind the ahkam of deen. And even they ask and you explain it to them, you give them logical evidence, they're not ready to accept it. And sad reality is that unfortunately this has come into amongst us Muslims also now. There are many, many Muslims, very unfortunate, that they start trying to ask about the ahkam of deen, or they make fun of the ahkam of deen. The ahkam that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has clearly stated and made very, very clear that do this or don't do this. And then they start thinking that this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but there's some mistake. The biggest one is about hijab in the 21st century. Women have this objection. Why do we have to wear hijab? Why don't the men have to wear hijab? Subhanallah. And then they start bringing their own comment. Where in the Quran does it say to wear hijab? When was the last time you read the Quran? You want proof from Quran? First go read the Quran. And they ask, where in the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why don't men have to cover? So if you read the Quran, you'll find that also men have to cover too. Don't think men are just free to walk around how they want. First the men are addressed. قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ وَيَحْفَظُوا فُرُوجَهُم. The men are addressed first. Lower your gaze, protect your chastity. Then the mu'minat are addressed to cover themselves. But this is the reality that we Muslims have come to. Then the same women are going around asking for their rights. They want to be in the 21st century. They've fallen into this trap, feminism trap. They don't realize that the rights that the deen of Islam has given them is far greater and far better than any rights the modern day world will give them. The modern day world turns them into objects. And the deen of Islam gives them the status of a human being and beyond, a respectable human being. Very big difference. The feminist movement, the women they try to be like men, and they're mad rush to be like men. And along with that, they're looking for these so-called rights without even realizing what these rights are. In a very strange society, the only thing they argue about is equal pay. They have this whole movement just for equal pay. But there are many, many things behind that equal pay that they try to promote and try to say, oh, you see, women are not given their rights. Come to the deen of Islam, how much rights the deen of Islam gives women. First, let's talk about hijab. What is the wisdom behind hijab? You go find. Things that we value, we hide them. And if somebody says, really, what are you talking about? Okay, give me the PIN number to your debit card. Or give me your bank account number. Now, why are you hiding your money in your bank? Because you value it. Otherwise, come and display your money in front of everyone. Things we don't value, so we're ready to show to everyone. But things we value, where are they? They're in the bank account. And if it's more valuable than as a diamond, so we even rent a vault in the bank. We pay the bank to protect it for us. Why? Because we understand the value of things. Things that are valuable, they have to be protected. Pearls and diamonds, where are they? They're hidden. They're not out you don't walk down the street and you find a pearl. If you do, please tell me that street because I want to also find them. Okay? It's not common you walk down the street, you find pearls and diamonds and gold. It doesn't happen. They're hidden. Things we value, we hide. You get your salary. There used to be a time where you would get a check. Now it's just direct deposit. Back in the days, you get your paycheck. People used to be very careful where they put that paycheck. Someone can cut their pocket. Why we value these things? Because we have value for money. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught us human beings that we human beings are more valuable than money and wealth and these things. And more valuable than the man is the woman. So that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran has mentioned very clearly that there are things that should be covered. They should understand their value. They're not some cheap commodity. And please excuse me for using these terms because it's a reality. You go to the store, things that are cheap are everywhere, and very, very low price. But things that are valuable, go see how much security they have, how covered they are, layer after layer of covering. Why? Because they're valuable. And the women, they don't understand their value. So they also want to be like the cheap commodities, May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us hidayah and give us understanding. And the same applies to men. Those men that understand their value, so they'll have haya, and they'll have modesty. They will cover. But those men that don't have that level of value. So we live in such a strange society that men want to be women and women want to be men. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. And now unfortunately, you can't even give a gender to someone. The next generation, they don't even have babies. They're calling their babies babies, so the baby can choose if it wants to be a boy or a girl. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. The next generation is now calling themselves things other than man and woman. And even on the forms now, it's not male, female. It's male, female, other, So you can also choose to be something else. Inna lillahi. Where the dunya is gone, where this world is gone. amongst the Ashratu Sa'ad, this is the signs of the Day of Judgment. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us value. And what do? We become like the Bani Israel. We start questioning the ahkam of deen. Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do this? Then we start to even question the wisdom behind it. In the Quran, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addressed the most righteous women, the Ummahatul Mu'mineen, the wives of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, very specific ahkam were given to the Ummahatul Mu'mineen. And amongst those ahkam, amongst those commandments, وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنْ وَلَا تَبَرَّجْنَ تَبَرُّجَ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ الْأُولَى. And live in your homes, be protected. And don't display yourself like how at the time of Jahiliyyah, the women used to display themselves. With all the glamour and glitter and all of these things. Don't come out like this. وَأَقِمْنَا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتِينَا الزَّكَاةَ وَأَطِعْنَا اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. And establish your salah in your own private quarters. Give your zakah. Obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Obey Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Very clear hukum. Very clear ahkam. Live your life in a way where you're not trying to display to the mankind. Your connection is between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And these are the most righteous of women. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. قُلْ لِأَزْوَاجِكَ وَبَنَاتِكَ وَنِسَاءِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ يُدْنِينَ عَلَيْهِنَّ مِنْ جَلَابِيبِهِنَّ. Tell your wives and tell your daughters and tell the women of the believers, those that want to be righteous, يُدْنِينَ عَلَيْهِنَّ مِنْ جَلَابِيبِهِنَّ. They should put their jalbab over them. For those who don't know what is jalbab, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahmatullah alayhi said the whole body is covered except for one eye. Not even both eyes. One eye. The other fuqaha have said, okay, the face is okay. You cover the body, you can show your face. They're being more nice. But the strict one is jalbab. Why this hukum? Because their beauty is a value. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them this value. Unfortunately, we take that away. We try to be smart with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why this and why that? Why we have so many problems in our society now? Because once you remove the ahkam of hijab, you remove taqwa from the society, the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the society, so what will happen? Fitna will prevail. There will be immoral actions and immodesty in the society. Zina will prevail. And in any society where the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala goes to that level, where zina becomes prevalent, so we've been told by the words of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum and even the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and in those societies you'll find natural disasters, earthquakes. What do we find? You find hurricanes, tropical storms. Most of them have Mexican names. And if you look today, you check the map, there's 6 or 7 tropical storms around America. All 7 out of those 8 have Mexican names. They're trying to invade America also. I don't know if they can put a wall to stop these tropical storms. You should think about that. This is in the 21st century according to today. Don't watch this video in the future and say what is going on. I'm just sharing with you that this is what's happening, natural disasters. And on the other side you have fires, burning how many acres? On the other side you have zalzala, earthquakes going. Where is all this coming from? This is what Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us. This is what the words of Sahaba, Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, he named a few of these major sins. He said in any society where these sins prevail, you'll find these effects. In any society where riba prevails, you have a lot of qatl and killing. In any society zina prevails, you have the ghadab and the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the form of these natural disasters. And so on and so forth. There's a list of them. So where is this coming from? But we want to challenge the ahkam of deen. Why? Because they have this mad rush. We don't have that taqwa and that fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In a hadith mentioned in Sunan Abu Dawood, there's a very, very stern warning given that a time will come. There's a very, very stern hadith. A time will come where people will come to the masajid riding on the thrones of the Kisra of Rome and in Persian, the kings of Rome and Persia. People will come to the masajid riding on thrones like the thrones of the king of Rome and the king of Persia. And he said that their women will wear such perfume that will make the heads of men turn. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam told us that their women will come to the masajid, to the houses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to a place where the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should take place. And they'll wear such perfumes, they'll make the heads of men turn. They say that these women will be even deprived from smelling the fragrance of Jannah. Going to Jannah is something else. Why? Because they're coming to the masajid to spread fitna. And there's more to that hadith, a very lengthy hadith about the kind of things that will happen near Qiyamah, near the Day of Judgment. Sometimes we don't realize the severity in the ahkam, in disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The women will come like this. Now go see some of the cars that we have. There's nothing wrong with having a nice ride. But if you come with that intention to wear such strong perfume, or to display your jewelry, or to make the masjid a place where you can show off, this is not what the masjid is for. The masjid is the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There should be no kind of distraction. It happens, some masajid you go to, you can smell the fragrance of the women. On the men's side, I'm not talking about the women's side. The men's side, mashallah, you can smell it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us and give us hidayah, give us guidance. Should be very, very careful with the ahkam of deen. Who are we playing with? You're playing with fire. We don't realize the severity of these things. So this is what the Bani Israel were looking at Musa alayhi salam, that you're making fun of us. This is what we believers sometimes, we say, we read the ahkam of deen and say, this is making fun of us. We try to make fun of the ahkam of deen. Very strange. There was one person, he came to me, he says, show me where in the Quran it says, do not drink alcohol. I want to see these specific words. Allahu Akbar. He said, in the Quran it says it's a major sin, and don't go close to salah when you're drunk. He said, where are these words? Don't drink alcohol. I told the person, and listen, first, this is a much bigger problem than what you're asking. Your iman is somewhere else. This is the biggest problem is with the iman. Otherwise, if you had iman, you wouldn't ask such a question. Sometimes we say that we wish we were at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Some of us, we wish we were Sahaba. Huh? But you know why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose the Sahaba to be Sahaba? You will never find a single Sahabi ever question Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam about a hukum of deen. The hurmat of khamr came. Wine was made haram. Immediately the Sahaba broke the vessel. Those that had the business, they broke their barrels. Some Sahaba who were drinking, when the ayat came to them, there is haram, they vomited. They didn't say, oh, whatever is gone, and okay, we won't drink again. They vomited. When the hukum of hijab came, women in the middle of the marketplace covered themselves. One woman was walking home, she heard the ayah, she ran behind the tree. She told one of the boys walking by, go to my house, bring my, let me cover myself. Bring my big shawl, Bring my jalbab. So she covered herself and went home. And what are we doing? We're questioning the ahkam of deen. Questioning. This is why Sahaba were Sahaba and we are we. A big difference. And this is what the Bani Israel, they were questioning Musa alayhi salam. Direct hukum from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inna Allah ya'murukum an tadhbahu Baqarah. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has commanded you slaughter this cow. What was their reaction? Is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala making fun of us? Many of us living in the Western world say how you can live without involving in riba. Who can own a house without taking mortgage? Who can buy a car without mortgage, finance? We are saying the same thing that the kuffar were saying. What did the kuffar say? What was when the kuffar were told about riba? What did the kuffar say? إِنَّمَا الْبَيْعُ مِثْلُ الرِّبَى. Say business is riba. Then what did the ayat respond? وَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made business halal, but has made interest and usury haram. In this time and age, many of the Muslims are saying the same thing. How you can do business, how you can buy a house, how you can buy a car, how you can live your life without riba, without this credit card, without this. And yes, every single person that has gotten a credit card, alhamdulillah, I've never had a credit card. And I know people who live without credit cards. MashaAllah, they live good life. And every single person that I've heard that has a credit card has some problem with their credit history. Because when we buy the credit card, we say, MashaAllah, there's nobody in this earth that is more careful than me. And I will not go past my limit, Yes. And what happens? Maybe after 1 month, 2 months, 1 year, eventually time comes, we fall into that riba. We pay something in riba. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has told us in the Quran, فَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا فَأَذَنُوا بِحَرْبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. If you don't give up this riba, then take this announcement from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, they wage war on you. But what are we doing? We're trying to make fun of this hukum. Oh, that was a time in a society they didn't have riba. That whole society was based on riba. This whole society is also based on riba. When the Sahaba radiallahu anhum were told that this riba is haram, they gave up riba. Even those that had banking business in the banks, they forgave all the riba. Some of them were even the relatives of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Go read the lives of Sahaba radiallahu anhum. They had banks. You think this banking thing is something new? They didn't know what banks were. They were highly mathematical people. They were highly intelligent people. They knew what finance was. They were highly businessmen, very big, great businessmen. They knew what riba was. When time came, they gave it up. Today, many of us, because we think we're so smart, we make fun of this. Oh, who can live without riba? Who can survive in this time and age without riba? What are we really getting ourselves into? We should be very, very careful with our deen. Don't make fun of the ahkam of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are some people now, they're saying, who can pray 5 times a day? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us on hidayah. There are people who claim this. Who has the time to pray 5 times a day? Who has the time to go to the masjid 5 times a day? Who has the time to even pray 5 times a day? We have time for everything, and we don't have time for Allah. We have time for everything. And we make ways for everything and for everyone. But when it comes to the hukum of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we don't have time for Him. We can't take out a few minutes from our so-called busy life. I like to use the term so-called, because we can spend hours and hours on social media. We can spend hours and hours chatting with people on WhatsApp and all these other devices that there are, messages and whatever else. But we cannot take out a few minutes for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What will be our reaction on the Day of Judgment when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala questions us? When we're put to account in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, in this world we can fool other people. You can never fool yourself, And in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who are you trying to fool? So we should be very careful with the ahkam of deen. Don't make fun of the ahkam of deen. Many have given up zakah. This is what Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us, that amongst the signs of Qiyamah, amongst the signs of the Day of Judgment, the zakah will become a burden. The zakah, it will become a burden. 2.5% becomes a burden. You cannot give that much from your wealth. From your savings, not even your wealth, just your savings. To taxes, we can give 30%, 40%. To Uncle Sam, even 50%. Why? Because we know that if Uncle Sam comes after us, the IRS comes after us, we're finished. We understand the power of the IRS. But do we understand the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? This 2.5% becomes a burden. Out of $100, you're given $2.50. This $2.50, one coffee, it becomes a burden. 1 cup of coffee, this becomes a burden. I'm just giving you an example out of $100. That becomes a burden for us. Why? Because when the iman is not there, then this is what happens. That's why the effort of iman is very, very important. For us to get anything valuable in this world, we make an effort. For wealth, how much effort we make. For intelligence and intellect, how much effort we make. For good health, you find the people, and seeing some of our brothers, mashallah, in the gyms for hours. How much time it takes to build good health, good muscles and strength. How much we're ready to do, how much effort it takes. What about for iman? The very one thing that can take you to Jannah, what effort have we made on it? Without iman, none of your amal are accepted. Without this belief and this strong belief, Where are we? Have we ever made an effort to check our iman? This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us these lessons in this surah, and has even named the surah after this story. Very, very deep lessons. Don't take the ahkam of deen lightly. Don't take the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lightly. Otherwise, we're fooling no one but ourselves. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give all of us hidayah and guidance, and give all of us the tawfiq to practice His deen. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم نور قلوبنا بالقرآن وزين أخلاقنا بالقرآن ونجنا من النار بالقرآن وادخلنا في الجنة بالقرآن. اللهم اجعل القرآن لنا في الدنيا قرينا وفي القبر مؤنسا وعلى الصراط نورا وفي الجنة رفيقا ومن النار سترا وحجابا. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. سبحان